All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to SBAM's Small Business Briefing. I'm Sarah Miller, Vice President of Marketing and Strategic Communications. Thanks for joining us today. I'm happy to welcome back Kelly Saunders as my co-host.
Well, hi, everybody. Kelly Saunders, Vice President of Policy and Engagement here at SBAM. Excited to be back with you. And Sarah, I think that you are welcoming a new member to kick us off.
I sure am. We are welcoming a new member, Arise Well. They're in Pontiac. Arise Well is proud to provide a high quality level of customer service, medical experience, and commitment to health and wellness to their patients. So, welcome to Arise Well and their team.
We are always happy to have new members join us. And if you're listening and not a member yet, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can make that happen and you can be a part of the SBM family. But Sarah, to kick off our show content wise today, you are going to have a special conversation. We have obviously a great relationship with our friends at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, and Andy Holtgreive is with us today. So I will kick it back over to you, and you and Andy can have a conversation about specialty benefits.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kelly. So, yes, as Kelly said, we're welcoming Andy from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan to the show today. So, Andy, why don't you give a brief introduction and share a little bit about your role at Blue Cross?
Sure. And I just want to say thank you, Kelly, for saying we're going to have a special conversation because that's what I am, special. And I sell specialty. So that's all good. I am the small group specialty sales consultant for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. So I focus specifically on groups under 50 lives. It's pretty unique. A lot of carriers will have group representatives that go down to two, which I do, or even one for that matter, working with SBAM, all the way up to 500. I specifically focus on that ACA group. So if you're a group under 50 lives, that is where I focus. I've been with Blue Cross. Actually, this is my second tour of duty. Was with Blue Cross 15 years ago. I've been in this role for about a year. I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I have a real passion for small business and the impact that it can have on the community, the region, and the world.
You certainly do. You're a fixture at a lot of our events, and I know you've gotten to meet some of our members. But talk a little bit about what specialty benefits are and why groups offer them.
Now, absolutely. The specialty benefits basically is anything that's not considered medical or pharmacy. So medical and pharmacy is what people traditionally understand as offering benefits to a group. Specialty would be dental, vision, life, disability, anything that's outside of that medical and pharmacy piece. And what we find is groups will offer those as a way to attract and retain their talent and strengthen their employee culture.
Attracting and retaining talent is definitely on the top of minds of many of our members. In survey results and in conversations, we do hear that that is one of the biggest pain points. So, as we look at today's market and we talk about attracting and retaining talent, how do you see them approaching employee benefits in this area?
Great question. They approach employee benefits very carefully and strategically. It's tough, right? There's a lot of competition for talent out there. A lot of competition to keep talent where they are. I see the specialty benefits market being a way to differentiate a group to be able to differentiate their culture, their package, and the value that they can bring to an individual employee. And I also see them using those benefits as a way to create an empowerment strategy or an empowerment culture, right? So traditionally, I think benefits has been, take benefits and you get a copay and you go see your doctor and you have access to benefits. It's definitely shifting into more of a consumer driven model. You see that with HSAs, HRAs. And when you have higher deductibles like that, a lot of times you want to be able to offer a specialty benefit alongside of that to be able to help soften the blow if an individual were to incur a significant cost, whether they are in an accident or they had an illness. Specialty benefits can be a nice complement to some of those higher deductible plans. So they're really looking at all the benefits and trying to understand how they can pull these benefit packages and plans together to be able to offer something that brings real value and helps to empower the employee to have a little more a little more skin in the game and a little more say in how their benefits are received and used.
Let's talk a little bit about that word value. I know like we do hear from our members how important these products are to them. Here at SBAM, we utilize them as a team too, many of them, and they're definitely very valuable. But if there's a small business owner out there who wants to kind of consider what they might be able to add on, how do you recommend they assess the value within their benefits?
That's a really good question. Um, I I tend to look at benefits in three different ways. First, price, right? That's everybody's going to assess based on price. How much is it going to cost me? The next, I look at power. I kind of put them into an alliteration. So price, power, and then personalization. Um, Price, obviously, people are looking at cost. Power would be what kind of access does that provide? What is the brand? How can that brand that they have, and certainly Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has one of the strongest, if not the strongest brand in the marketplace. How does that brand leverage as an advantage to an individual? So, what kind of power does that brand bring? What kind of access does that brand bring? And then personalization would be what do they offer? What are some of the different ways that what are some of the different packages or benefit plans that can be offered to help really allow them to develop a strategy within their own benefits offering.
I like that. Price, power, and personalization. Alliteration is always helpful. So you mentioned strategy there, Andy. What strategies do you see small businesses utilizing within their benefit programs?
Well, I think honestly, right now, as we kind of look at this current economic environment, it's an election year. There's a lot of unknowns. What's going on, and it's getting it can be costly, right? So I see voluntary benefits as a real strategy that small businesses are starting to look at. So voluntary basically means the employee pays the cost for that benefit. So you can offer a voluntary dental plan, voluntary vision plan, voluntary life plan, disability plan. And what the value of that is, we can bring a better pricing structure to groups, but that cost is then assumed by the employee. So the employer doesn't have to add to their cost and their outlay what they're already providing on any type of medical or pharmacy. They can still offer a benefit, leverage the strength of that group, and then again create an opportunity for that employee to be a little more engaged and involved in the benefits that they have.
Definitely speaks into that personalization aspect
Absolutely,
there.
for
So
sure.
Andy, I did share a link to the small group info on the Blue Cross website here on Zoom and on Facebook as well. Any other final recommendations for small business owners who might want to learn more about these products and what that next step could be?
For sure. I'm a big proponent of, again, the empowered consumer, understanding what that value is that they have. And what really differentiates Blue Cross Blue Shield from any other carrier out there right now, from a specialty perspective, is that our claims information really integrates. And what that means is we can see claims from a dental or vision perspective and understand what that impact is from a medical perspective. So it's not just simply having dental and vision, it's actually having a much more holistic approach to your health and leveraging the power of a Blue Cross Blue Shield to be able to help you see that and have perspectives that other carriers just simply can't provide. So when you're looking at it, make sure you consider the value that helps you understand how to take better care of yourself, whether it's medical, dental, or vision.
All right, absolutely. We appreciate your partnership. We appreciate your time today. And for people watching, SBAM is your resource here. We have a full member care team that can answer any questions that you might have about these Blue Cross specialty benefits products. So Andy, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at another event here in the future.
And when
Thank
you
you very
do
much, Sarah.
see Andy, make sure you ask him about his incredible improv. He's very good at it. So
Thanks, Kelly. It's
you're
special.
welcome.
See ya.
All right, Sarah, I think that we are going to jump into our news of the day now.
Yes.
And if you don't mind, I'll take it from here and you can lead us the rest of the way. So, last week, Monday, SBM, our Small Biz Pack board, did make endorsements. And so I know that you're going to share the link in the chat for all to see. But I had been on, I think 2 weeks ago now, talking about how the Small Biz Pack Board was going to meet and evaluate candidates from all across Michigan and make endorsement recommendations. So as you move into the primary elections and the general election this year, that you can make informed decisions about who we deem to be small business. And so we have put together a very robust web page at sbam.org. Sarah and her team have done an incredible job of making sure you know who these candidates, what they look like, and accessing their website, and then also just learning a little bit more about them. And so we would really encourage you to utilize our web page to get to know those folks, to reach out to them if you live in their respective communities. We made 63 endorsements. A reminder that the House of Representatives is up this year. That's the most endorsements we've ever made in the House of Representatives of being up. And so we had more candidates turn in questionnaires than we ever have before. It gave us a lot to sort through. And the Small Biz Pack board did make some very thoughtful decisions. Now, I want to say this was our initial round of endorsements, and so the Small Biz Pack board will continue to make endorsements throughout the process as they deem necessary. We do have some folks that may have not turned in their questionnaires yet, or we're kind of waiting in races to see how they play out, and we may make a second or third round of endorsements as we move towards these respective elections in August and November. So we wanted to update you, make sure you peruse those. If you have any questions, please feel reach out to Jacob or I on the team to answer those questions. And so, yeah, check out the webpage. But leading into our primary and our general election, we want to remind folks that you can access your ballot through the Michigan Secretary of State website. Sarah is dropping that link in the chat as well. And remember, we've had some sweeping changes when it comes to elections and the way that you vote. You obviously can vote in person day of. The primary is on August 6th this year. That webpage will tell you where you vote if you don't know where to go. But also remember that if you absentee vote, you need to request your absentee ballot, and it shows you how to do that there. And then now we have early in-person voting where you can go to your respective township or wherever it's designated to vote before election day. They have drop boxes in your communities. And so make sure you utilize that website to learn how best to vote. We encourage you obviously to be civically engaged. People who serve in the legislature do make laws and policies that affect your small business. So we just want to make sure that you have the resources at your fingertips to make informed decisions. And so that's our report internally on our endorsement process and how to get yourself out there to make sure that you are being active in the process.
Thanks, Kelly. Yes, I did share both those links. And as we make updates to the endorsed candidate list, that website will be updated as well. So you can kind of consider that your real-time guide to our endorsements. And yes, I was kind of really, I mean, I know the election was coming, but our little small town 4th of July parade sure had a lot of candidates in it. So, election season is here. Which leads me into some more political news, Kelly, and that is that Michigan is going to have a special guest on Friday. What are the details?
Yes, so the last time I was on, I was talking right before the first debate happened between President Biden and former President Trump, and encouraged people to listen in just to learn more. And so this kind of circles back to that conversation. Um, Nobody is, not aware of how this election is unfolding, but President Biden will be visiting Michigan on Friday this week. his campaign announced over the weekend. And this will be President Biden's fourth trip, I believe, in this campaign cycle to Michigan. A reminder, we are 116 days before the November 5 presidential election. And so we've talked about how important Michigan is to both of these candidates. A reminder that in the last election, President Biden beat President Trump by 154,000 votes, which was 3 percentage points. So it was very tight here in Michigan, 51-48, excuse me. And there's obviously been a lot of controversy surrounding both candidates, but after the debate, there's numerous people that were nervous about President Biden's performance, and some people asking him to step aside, step down. It's been made very clear, by both candidates that they're not going anywhere, and so he will be in Detroit. We don't have any details about when or where on that day, but if you're interested, please make sure you pay attention. Those events tend to be open to the public. And the reason this is important is because Michigan is so important to the presidential race. President Biden on Friday was in Wisconsin, and then he was in Pennsylvania yesterday. These are all swing states, very important to winning that electoral vote. And so I think, as we approach this primary and head into the general, we're going to see more of President Biden and former President Trump in Michigan as we proceed. So keep your eyes and ears open. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, make sure that you get out there and listen to your candidates so you can make, again, informed decisions.
Yeah, Kelly, let's talk a little bit about President Biden. He has said that he is not going anywhere, but obviously there is a lot of chatter out there that people want to replace him on the ticket this November. So how much of that is real talk? And if so, is Governor Whitmer in the running to replace him on that ticket?
Yeah, this is me pontificating a little bit, but again, President Biden has made it clear that he is not stepping aside. And the talk of, other people stepping in for him, I find that hard to believe, mainly because he has a vice president that is younger. She's the first female Black vice president that our country has ever had. To just push her aside, the more reality would be him stepping aside, and then she would step in to fulfill that role as his second in command. So to just kind of brush aside, the vice president seems to be not a consideration, even though, people say her poll numbers are bad. I mean, people have a hard time believing in polls these days anyway. And Governor Whitmer, reminder for all, she is on his finance committee. She is one of his captains in the Midwest, and you see her out there saying that she supports President Biden. She's been fundraising for him. There's no wavering there from her. And there's been talks of Governor Newsom from California as well, and he is saying the same things, that he supports President Biden. He's out there fundraising for him too. So, people love the drama. They love to see, this upheaval, if you will, and, looking for one little crack of somebody to say, to give, these higher profile people like Governor Whitmer to see if they're willing and wanting to step into that role. And so, Governor Whitmer has always been pretty loyal to the cause, and I don't see her straying from that. It doesn't mean that she doesn't have ambitions beyond, being governor in Michigan. She obviously has her book that's come out. She's going to have her book tour. And she is a prolific fundraiser. And so I don't think that her time is now, but is it in the future? There's a good chance for that. And for gosh sakes, we're talking about people running at the age of 80 and 81 or whatever, and she's 53. She's got like her whole life in front of her when it comes to this political career. So I would say that there's a lot of obstacles, or not obstacles, but there'd be a lot of things that would have to fall away for President Biden to step aside, and for people like Governor Newsom or Governor Whitmer to step in and run.
Governor Newsom, who is also actually in Michigan over the 4th of July holiday weekend too. So again, just kind of illustrating how important Michigan is to this election. Let's talk about some other weekend news. This one's about Line 5. It involves Governor Whitmer, and Enbridge has had a major win. What happened?
Yeah, so we've covered line 5 extensively, Brian in particular. We obviously support the tunnel being built under the Straits of Mackinac, as we know it's a very needed resource to the Upper Peninsula specifically. And so the Whitmer administration had attempted to dismiss a case brought by Enbridge that sought to continue the distribution of oil through the Straits. And the lawsuit was filed by actually Enbridge in 2020 after the governor and the Michigan Department of Natural Resources revoked Enbridge's easement that allows Line 5 to transport that oil and other petroleum products through the Straits of Mackinac. And so Enbridge is seeking a federal court ruling affirming to the right to continue transmission through those straits, which would enable to continue building that second tunnel that we've talked about extensively. So on Friday, U.S. District Judge Robert Yonker, who actually is the judge that's overseeing the Corporate Transparency Act case that we've brought before the courts as well, he actually inherited it from another judge that is no longer taking up the Enbridge or the Line 5 litigation. But what he was saying is he found that the state was unable to establish sovereign immunity grounds that triggers the dismissal. And so sovereign immunity protects states or state officials from being sued in federal court. There are exceptions to the sovereign immunity rule, including one that allows for federal litigation if it's necessary to force a state official to comply with federal law. And so Enbridge's filing was seen as squarely falls under the exception, and that's what the judge wrote. So what the judge further said is Enbridge requests relief that would preclude state officials from shutting down ongoing operations of a pipeline that has been functioning under easement for the past 65 years. And the basis for that requested declaratory and injunctive relief are rooted in alleged violations of federal law. So he did not rule on Friday on separate motions that Enbridge is seeking a summary disposition. And so instead, he said he would hold oral arguments on July 31st. So this specific case will hear oral arguments on that day, July 31. So the state's efforts, obviously, to close Line 5 are actually spurred by 3 lawsuits. So the one we just talked about, there was one filed by Attorney General Nessel that was recently sent to state court because of a procedural error. And then one filed by Governor Whitmer that was actually dismissed by the governor already, and then this third one that we just talked about. So it is a major win for Enbridge, obviously, and we will continue to keep you updated on this very important topic because we know that that second tunnel needs to be built to make sure that resources are getting to the Upper Peninsula. It's a major economic driver for us. So
Absolutely. All right, speaking of wins, some of our public universities got some love from a report from US News and World Report. What can you tell us?
yes, this is very exciting. We love to deliver good news, and actually these last few stories are not necessarily they are, I'll say, adjacently business, friendly, but we like to bring you good news. So US News and World Report released their 2024-2025 Best Global University Rankings, and the publication ranks 2,271 institutions across the world. They weigh research reputation domestically and internationally, and the number of research and public citations, the amount of international collaboration that they use, and then there's some other methodologies. But of course, the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor ranked number 19 on the list of 500 in the world. They are in the top 25 internationally in a number of categories, including arts and humanities, biology and biochemistry, cardiac and cardiovascular services, clinical medicine, economics, physics, psychiatry, like the list goes on and on. We obviously know what a gem we have in the University of Michigan here in Ann Arbor and their respective other sites throughout Michigan. And then Michigan State University ranked number 123. Sarah, I know that's your alma mater, so you're very excited about that. In education and educational research program was ranked number 5 internationally, while plant and animal science was also in the top 20, obviously very reputable program throughout the country. And then the MSU also ranked in the top 50 in the United States and number 63 internationally. So a very good turnout for them too. And then the third one that made the list was Wayne State University, which is great. Came in at 466, but their rise to fame in this was their collaboration efforts that they seek specifically in the Southeast Michigan region. So happy for them as well. And then of course, number 1 was Harvard, throughout the US. But the reason why this is important, for us is that having institutions, higher education institutions that rank in the top, 500 brings people to Michigan. And so having that talent come here, hoping to retain that talent, whether it's undergrad or graduate students, these types of this type of attention really does bring people to Michigan. And so we're happy for those 3 universities and that they're doing an excellent job educating people from all over the world that we hope will call Michigan home one day.
Absolutely. And then when they come and they visit our state and they come to school here, they get to experience what an absolutely beautiful state Michigan is. And in particular, the Upper Peninsula has some of the most beautiful landscape. And one of their parks is receiving some major recognition.
Yes, this is a fun story. And the Wall Street Journal puts out every year their top parks, obviously, to visit. And Isle Royale National Park was ranked number 1 over Denali, Yellowstone, Big Bend, among others, as the number 1 park in the United States. And so we're just really excited for our friends in the Keweenaw. We have obviously been to that region and know how beautiful it is, but I'm just going to give you some stats. I've never been there personally. I guess I got to get up there, but Michigan's Upper Peninsula was number 1 in the nation. They use crowd size as 50% of its criteria for the ranking, along with hiking, camping, and outdoor recreation opportunities. When coming up with this list, the national publication called Isle Royale an unexpected winner. We'll take it. It's still an awesome recognition. Reminder, it has 165 miles of hiking trails and is not only the most secluded place in Michigan, but in the entire country. It has the least amount of visitors of any national park in 2023 in the entire contiguous US. It's located 55 miles at the tip of the Keweenaw. There are only 2 ways to get there, by ferry or seaplane. The park consists of a 45-mile long main stretch of islands surrounded by more than 400 small islands. Isle Royale is open from mid-April through the end of October. And so congratulations to our friends in the Keweenaw. We're obviously always very proud of you. We know how beautiful your area is, and sounds like we need to book a trip to Isle Royale.
I guess we got to get that seaplane booked. I'm not sure if I'm up for a 55-mile ferry ride, but I could probably swing the seaplane. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that, Kelly. It is good news. Before we say goodbye today, I do want to let you know that we have opened up registration for our golf outing. This is the SBAM golf outing that benefits our foundation, and it's August 15th. It's at the Medalist in Marshall. So we're returning back to the Medalist. sbam.org/events will get you to registration, and it's always a fun day, and I hope you'll join us there. So Kelly, thanks for joining us today and for filling in for Brian. We'll be back here next Monday.
It's always a pleasure to be with all of you, and we will keep you updated with the latest news. So have a great week.